Welcome to my channel, Redeeming Thunder. I'm here to give you a fabulous prophetic word regarding Yahuah is creating highways for you. There is a slippery slope, mudslide ahead. Beware. Chapter 45, Part 2, given to me on 4/30/2025. This was given to me through a dream. Now I'm going to jump right in. I was driving and it was getting pretty dark, 85% darkness towards a road that turned into gravel road in the forest, and then there was a muddy road. I was driving fast. The roads were busy. Suddenly I heard a siren and cars began to move to the side as I parked to the side. There was a fire truck right behind us and it drove past us. We all got on the road again. And then the road began to be a dirt road and a narrowing road. And there was trees on either side. And then I noticed that there was construction road work. But I was still driving very quick. So through the construction that was to the sides. So were the other cars. Suddenly, cars were sinking into the mud and their cars were getting stuck. I kept going. I saw fire in a dead-end road, so I began to go around. And I tried and I find another route. And I saw police parked in many abandoned cars. And as I turned around and began to drive, I'm suddenly in a building, looking out the window, watching my car drive back the opposite way. So now I'm not in that car, I'm watching the car drive on its own. The road was very rough, and they are sinking in the mudslide. As I drive past, my car is rough, in a rough terrain. My car is rough terrain. My car is like a, like an FJ Cruiser, like a Jeep. So it can handle this type of rough roads, right? These road conditions. But it was still sinking in the mudslide. So we had to move quick. Okay, so the car was spiraling in a sinking mud slide hole, and it was disappearing. Another woman lost her car in the mudslide. We all were at the mechanic shop. Many were working on cars, and I needed to get somewhere. And I asked for a ride to someone, and I knew my car was lost in the mud, but I wanted to get home because I said I have another car. And I didn't stress about, gap insurance or anything. I just wanted to see if anyone could give me a ride to my destination. And obviously get my other vehicle. Then I woke up. I had a second dream of driving in the road. So that happened on 4/30/2025. These prophetic words are sort of like manifesting around 4 to 6 months out. So I'm recording this in October 2025. So that would be about 6 months out. That means that something treacherous already had been occurring. Something of a slippery, when you're on the road and you're driving, it has a lot to do with your journey of life, okay? Are you in divine alignment? And if you are, it still can be where the enemy is trying to disrupt your journey, okay? And trying to cause havoc so that you can't get to your destination. When you lost your vehicle, that is something severe, okay? But knowing that there's another vehicle, that is still okay. That is still something that is promising, okay? Trying to get out of that situation and trying to get a ride to your destination, you know, you have an idea of what your divine alignment is. And so now looking forward into the future. All right, so when there is like some road blockage and, you know, treacherous road, and then the car gets like, it's like gone, right? You may not be in the divine alignment. Okay, your mentality may not be thinking what you're supposed to be planning for. Yahuah's plans. And so then the way you're living your life is going to reflect how you're thinking. Okay? That's why you need to go into the secret place and ask the Most High, what's going on here? Why did the vehicle, what happened? That sometimes it's witchcraft. Okay? I wanted a continuation of highways being created. Okay? When there's construction zone, that means Yahuah is creating a new way for you. Because the old way, the old mindset, the old way, no longer is for you. Maybe Yahuah did a switcheroo. And that's why you have to get in the secret place to understand what just happened here. During that time frame, I was prepping some court cases, okay? And it was a lot of work, kind of stressful. And what I thought was going to be them returning, the prodigals returning. Sometimes you are starting a new chapter in your life, new beginnings, okay? And I know this new beginnings is because when I began the New Beginnings series, it started around chapter 40. And this is chapter 45. So, the new highways construction zone has a lot to do with Yahuah literally being creative miracles, and you need to get in the secret place, because what you thought was going to happen and what you wanted it to happen and how you desperately wanted it your way could have been not Yahuah's way. Okay? What I was talking about before is the prodigals returning. They're going to return on Yahuah's time frame, and they're not going to return on your own time frame. And sometimes what Yahuah is doing is actually quite biblical. He's doing a Moses returning to Pharaoh scenario. In order for them to return, the plagues have to be dispersed first to your enemies. So you have to go back to court sometimes, quite literally for my situation. But you have to go and meet with the spirit of Pharaoh. You remember when he first went to Pharaoh, that first time he went, he didn't give him up. The second time he went, Pharaoh didn't give him up. The third time he went, Pharaoh did not give him up. Yahuah is doing this on purpose, not to cause you to suffer. He's doing it on purpose and hardening Pharaoh's heart all the more because he wants to get his own revenge on your enemies. So he's causing a scenario where you have the encounter spirit of Pharaoh to say no all the more, okay? So that he can disperse his plagues upon the wicked. Okay? Yahuah wants justice for you. And he does such a thing, okay? First of all, because it's talking about this school again, I want to say the first part of the original dream I had regarding deliverance of my enemies did occur. And there's another confirming word. It did occur in fall season. In this fall season of October, September, 2025. I received a dream of entering a school, and I received a message that that was the last time I was going to walk through those hallways of that school. And I went out the front doors knowing that. And I saw a vehicle parked out in the front, a new car. And I thought, wow, that's a really nice car. Okay? And I received this dream in 2024 of September. Or it could have been August. And I was trying to see about going to that car. And I just opened the door and I went in, I sat down, and everything was so luxurious in there. And I'm like, wow, this is a nice car. And then I turned it on, and then I got out. And then I walked down the street a little bit and down the sidewalk. And then there was a little narrow path, like through the neighborhood. And I saw two individual women, and they didn't have vehicles. And I said, oh, what are you guys doing here? And then I saw one of my child's father walking away from the school at the same time. And I said, what are you guys doing here? And they were kind of sad. They didn't have their children, and they were just moping, right? And didn't have vehicles either. I said, why don't you just try to use that vehicle? It's just sitting there. They're like, we can't. I really tried going, and the door didn't open. And the other woman said, there were spikes coming out of the car. It looked scary. It didn't allow me to open the door or even touch the car. I'm like, really? That didn't happen to me. I just walked over there, and I just opened the door, and I just sat in there. Like, really? You got in? I'm like, yeah. Okay. And so I stood with them for a little bit, and then I said, this is the last time I'm going to be here. And I looked around, and I could see that there was autumn, because there was yellow and orange leaves all around. Okay? Well, in that very time frame, it literally happened to me that was the last time I was going to walk through those doors. And I thought that the deliverance was going to be for me and some others. I didn't realize that the deliverance was going to be just for me. Okay? So it took this entire year of 2024, September, all the way to this September 2025. There was these other dreams that took play. One of which I just stated regarding the vehicle and through a treacherous road. Okay? And then this one that I'm going to share right now regarding the same location, the same school I was at. Okay? And the same vehicle. Okay. And you have to be in the divine alignment in order for these miracles to occur and deliverance to occur. You have to be in the right mindset. And sometimes Yahuah is going to deliver you from something that you thought you could still handle. And he says, yeah, no más. That's it. Okay? There's a reason behind it. All right, so let me jump in. I received this prophetic dream regarding new highways on 8/24/2025. And I had this dream after praying for the schools. In this hour, you guys need to be praying for the schools that your children go to. Okay? Or your loved ones go to. You need to be kicking out evil altars out of those schools and proclaiming with authority to send through angels to assist. Okay? Because their prodigal children are going to return to you. And you need to positively influence and put angelic encounters, angelic beings in the schools in order for this miraculous miracle to occur. You cannot get your prodigals returned with the same bad influences and toxic pagan habits, okay, all around them. So this was the dream. I literally, oh, just a side note, I had to go back to this school for the last time for a back to school night situation. And I literally took a picture of myself on 8/28/2025 in the bathroom. Okay? A selfie. And I told myself in that moment, I'm not going to have to go to the school anymore. And I know you guys are like, what's wrong with the school? What is it about the school? And it has to do with deliverance, okay? Of PTSDs and of very bad child memories, okay? But it has a lot to do with being in divine alignment. All right, so in the dream, it was back to school night. Okay, but then I actually lived back to school night. Anyway, not talking about the dream. It was September time frame, and I arrived and I parked in front of the school. And there was a van that came up and was delivering trees. Little trees, and they were transported into the school. I saw them get uprooted from the trays and wrapped in cloth and tied at the bottom and taken inside one by one. I looked around in the entryway and was having some, and astoundingly, there was some curb appeal at this school. And in real life, okay, a side note, there was like a lot of, weeds and it looked really kind of ghetto looking in the front of the school in real life. I offered to do some yard work even with my children because it just was like, what's going on here? Looking abandoned. The entryway, everywhere was weeds and a bunch of weird grass just growing everywhere, and everything looked dry, and there was no life to any of those shrubs or plants that were even rooted there, okay? So in the dream, everything was looking pristine, okay? And in real life, when I went for the real open house, there wasn't any weeds, and it was looking good. Okay, so there was some crab appeal, and there were many fir trees, and some were fake fir trees of royal blue and orange tinsel. Okay, and they just kind of planted them there randomly. There were also more plants around the bed's entry area. And there was ground cover plants instead of weeds. And it actually looked pretty and inviting. And so before I entered the building, I asked the individual who was delivering these little trees, what are these trees for? And he said, it's a gift for the parents that the children give on back to school night. I'm like, oh, okay. And I said, they had evergreen fir trees and other trees that were a little smaller. And he said that the school bought them for $5 in their nursery. And we walked in with those who delivered the trees, and I said that there used to be weeds galore everywhere here. I'm like a mile high. I'm not exaggerating. And now, look, the school has some nice landscape. I even said that in my dream to the individual. As we walked in, the scene changed. We walked in the building of the school, the scene changed. I'm suddenly in my FJ driving, and I'm on a road with other huge semi-trucks. And I passed through the first, and they were behind. There's another delivery truck in front of me, looks like a military Jeep collector. Okay, a military Jeep, and it has it's the color of rust red. I could hear in an intercom in my FJ, okay, to turn to the right. I'm like, that was odd. My car had a walkie-talkie or some kind of intercom Okay. And I saw a straight road and a road to go to the right. And there was no time but to just trust and turn. So I did. It immediately turned into a muddy road with red clay steps, and I both had my feet on the gas. I had both feet on the gas. That was odd and unusual way to drive. And on the gas and on the brake at the same time. Oh, okay. And so I was probably driving stick shift. Okay? Because I was pedaling and someone said on the intercom, "We're about to get down. Just drive carefully. Don't push the brake too hard." And someone else said that they slipped a little on the turn. I could hear all the conversations on this intercom walkie-talkie system. Okay, on this radio system, okay? But it was fine. My car was fine, and there was a sharp turn coming up. When I got down the steps in my car as I was driving, okay? I'm driving down steps, muddy steps, but they were firm muddy steps, not really muddy. It was not sinking mud, okay? It was difficult, but I got through it. And the sharp turn was there, but right after the turn, it was a cave. Immediately entered a cave. Then the walkie-talkie, like the radio, said we all needed to get off the car to allow the workers to repair the cave. And so I entered the cave in my car, and then my car was left to the side, to the left side there, and we walked into a small cave. And the cave had a window, and when I looked through the window opening, I looked out the window. There was a lot of dirt and construction with some like road work, okay? They looked like they were flattening the roads and making roads. And it looked to have red clay seats inside of the cave. And people rested in there. Some wanted to complain. And I said, a miracle is about to happen. A sign and wonder. I said that to a person next to me. I had left my other clothes in the car, and I wanted it in case it got cold in the cave at night for the little ones. I had one child with me. Suddenly I saw a vision of wall of mirrors, and I noticed I already had a very warm black jacket on in the dream. The guy who was grumpy and looked at me, and I said, they will be done fixing the road soon, and you will be on your way. But if you want a miracle to happen, all you have to do is praise and worship. Pray in the Spirit, sing in an organic a cappella, song. Began to worship, began to sing, and I began to sing in the dream, and I wasn't shy. And I said, and a sign and wonder will happen. This is the season of miracles, signs and wonders, and so the cave is a resting point. We're here for a reason, and we will be able to get out. He looked in disbelief, but then he looked like he wanted a miracle, and I woke up. Okay, in the Bible, now I'm going to interpret the dream. In the Bible, evergreen trees symbolize eternal life, Yahuah's enduring nature and spiritual vitality. While not explicitly a biblical symbol, the concept of evergreen being a sign of an unending life is reflected in scriptures like Hosea 14:8, where Yahuah is described as a flourishing pine tree, indicating his everlasting presence and life-giving qualities. The evergreen also connects to the tree of life of Eden and serves as a reminder of Christ, Yahuah, who offers everlasting life and the Holy Spirit, Ruach HaKodesh. The evergreen ability to stay green throughout winter symbolizes the everlasting life achieved through Yahush's resurrection and a new eternal life offering to believers. The evergreen signifies the unchanging eternal natural nature of Yahuah and his unfailing love, goodness, and promises. The evergreen represents the nourishment and vitality that comes with Yahuah, just as the righteous are said to flourish like a cedar tree, according to Psalms 92:12. The evergreen can remind people of the tree of life from the Garden of Eden and symbolizes Yahuah as the new tree of life through whom we can receive eternal life. Some traditions see evergreen's tip points heavenward as a symbol of Yahuah's presence with us. Hosea 14:8. Yahuah says, I am like a flourishing pine tree. Your fruit comes from me. Illustrates Yahuah as the source of life, vitality, and continuous flourishing. Okay. So, and this dream came to me right after I prayed for these schools. And I saw angels with shields shoving these dark, ghost-like entities out of the school. Okay? So, there is a change of plans, obviously, with the construction work and the road work. And it doesn't mean that Yahuah is going to give you something that you won't like. He's obviously going to give you something better. Okay? And you're going to get through this difficult time of the unknown with faith, with praise and worship. Okay? And he is narrowing in on that new vehicle. Okay? You have to embrace that new vehicle. That means that ministry. That means that calling. He's rearranging things around because he wants you to focus on your calling. And he's going to move things out of your way that will be distracting you from that. Do you understand this? Even though you love it, he's going to make things work. He's going to make roadways open up for you that weren't there before. Because you were obedient and you were understanding and you were accepting his will. Okay? And if you notice from the first dream of his treacherous mudslide, and the vehicle got lost to this point where 4 months later, it's a continuation of the dream and things have turned about. That's because you got back into an alignment. That's because you were open to his changes. Okay? That's because you were embracing new beginnings. That attitude in the cave is necessary. Okay? There's like a reconstruction going on. Obviously with the roadways being reconstructed. So there is someone in the vehicle, in your journey of life, telling you where to go and what to do. And you will feel it in your gut. Okay? You will feel it in your soul. And it will, when the time comes, when you end that chapter, just like the confirming word, where it was the deliverance of that whole era, okay, of that school. It has a lot to do with Sometimes the deliverance is just for you, and it's not for everyone all around. Okay? And that's okay. Because Yahuah has purpose for the steps that he takes. Let him defend you the way he wanted to. Roll with it. When you allowed him to lead the way, like in that intercom, and you did exactly what he told you to do, even though maybe you didn't make sense or you couldn't see ahead, it led you to the cave. Like, remember Elijah? He had to go to the cave. He felt a lot of distress all around. Then he was replenished of his strength. An angel visited him and he was replenished of his strength with food. Okay? And right, with vitality. Trust the process. Yahuah had planted pine trees where you have to leave your loved one. Trust the process. He's planting pine trees. Okay? And the key here is praising Yahuah in the secret place. Okay? Because something grand is coming. Some literal sign and wonder, some humongous miracle is coming. And it's going to look unbelievably, astronomically, like so wondrous. Like you will understand why the warfare was so difficult once you get there. And those are in the next chapters. So put a vehicle or put a road if you're going through the same thing, okay? In the comments there. Don't forget to like and subscribe and send to those who truly need to hear this prophetic word. And I will see you on the next video. Shalom.